Hey, what's up, everybody? Trey Griggs here with Beta Consulting Group. We've reached the halfway point in the week. Always reminds me of that. I think it's maybe a Geico commercial with a camel. You know what day it is? It's Hump Day. So thanks for joining us today. We're going to have a great show. We've had a great week already. If you've missed some of the guests we've had so far this week, it's okay. You can go back and rewatch on LinkedIn or on YouTube or on Twitter. We've had an awesome week so far. Started off the week with my good friend Mike Riccio, who is chairman of the board of the TIA and has his own consulting company, and just a ton of wisdom there. It was awesome. Yesterday's show with Kevin Coombs rocked it. Talked a lot about sales. We did not get to talk about Air Force Ones and his first job. We'll have him back on the show to talk about that soon. Today's guest, lots of energy, tons of great content. I'm excited to bring TJ on here in just a minute. Tomorrow, make sure you come back tomorrow at 10:30 for Brent Orsuga. This guy is fire. He's going to bring it. We're going to talk a lot about mindset and mentality, and then we're going to finish off the week with my friend Sarah House, who's going to be talking to us about the significance of the relationship between product and sales and marketing, which is critical. So it's going to be a great week of guests and content. So make sure you come back. Appreciate your support. Also, take a moment to check out our website. Go to betaconsultinggroup.com to learn about all of our services and how we can help your company with your sales and marketing outcomes, as well as check the events page, because we have an awesome event coming up on April 30th. We're raising money for a company called, or a nonprofit called Battle Buddy 3 Gun. We're doing a Tough Mudder event here in St. Louis. Again, April 30th. We're going to do 9 miles and 30 obstacles with the street crew. If you're not familiar with what that is, you can check out our show on Friday called The Word on the Street. It's all transportation professionals. It's an hour, great content. This week, we're welcoming our good friend from Assertus, Trent Broberg, onto the show. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But check out the website, check out the event. Be sure to donate to our charity, which is Battle Buddy 3 Gun. We're going to help wounded veterans have community and go to some really cool events. So it's going to be an exciting fundraiser and a great weekend. And you're welcome to come in for the weekend as well. We'd love to have you on the team, or just come enjoy the weekend with us. So all the information is there on the website, betaconsultinggroup.com/events. All right, with all that, let's go ahead and get started today. So excited to bring this guy on the show. Met this guy probably about 2 years ago. Maybe I think he might be one of my pandemic friends. Have to verify that when he comes on the show. But this guy just has a ton of energy, has a lot of great experiences, and he might tell a few dad jokes. We'll see if he brought some with him today. So please welcome to the show my good friend TJ Knudsen, coming to us from Indiana. What's up, TJ?
How's it going,
man?
Craig?
Good to see you, man. It's been a while. How you doing?
Yeah. Hey, man, just head down, grinding. It's busy time.
I see all over LinkedIn, man. You're hiring, you're growing, you're at Hoosier Logistics now, and things are rocking there. Talk a little bit about, for those that aren't familiar with who you are. I mean, a lot of people, if you're on LinkedIn, they got to know who you are. But for those who don't, tell a little bit about yourself and what you're doing there at Hoosier Logistics.
Yeah. So, I started in logistics about 7.5 years ago.
What did you do before that? What did you do before? What did you do before logistics? Sorry to cut you off. What did you do before logistics?
I just, my degree was in sports medicine, athletic training.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, went to grad school for physical therapy.
Learned something every day.
Yeah, and then came back home, and at that point, I mean, the job market just really wasn't necessarily there. I was getting married, and so I got into sales because I'd always been good at I don't know, just talking with people and bringing the service to the table. So I got in with a company and started a program with them. Basically, it's one of the larger. It was more like a personal training thing, but they had a lot of older or even just mid-aged people that had injuries that still wanted to work out. So the Next Step program is what I developed there, in which you could basically have me as a personal trainer, but with adaptive exercises and things that we work around and build around. Insurance only pays for so many sessions at physical therapy, and then after that you're on your own. So developed that out, but there's a cap, right? You can only work so many sessions per week, and I got good at it and built up a good client base, but I just was working so much, and you're just paid per session, obviously. So got into my buddy worked in finance sales, so I got in there, dabble in insurance and some other financial products and things like that. Had a larger territory, northern Indiana, and then was having, I believe, my second child at that time. Needed to kind of lock it down. I was traveling a lot, so buddy that I went to Ball State with had been at TQL for, I think, since we had left. So at that point, probably 10 years. He was just starting the Fort Wayne office. So I went and had a beer with him, and I was like, hey, I want to use my sales experience and stuff, but be kind of in an office environment, be able to also bring like service and things like that. And he said, yeah, this is a great environment. He's like, to be honest with you, I'm just starting up here. He's like, it's probably not a good fit. I didn't know who TQL was at the time. So, but he said, if I were you, I'd be looking for, an asset-based company. So I looked around, found one, and came in. I almost didn't go in for the interview. There was potholes in the parking lot. I sat there and started out. There's 10 or 15 of us in a room slinging freight, moving assets and expedite brokerage and whatnot. And then it just grew from there. And then it's just all been a blur since. So this last fall took a kind of a little step forward and I got in, started talking with the guys at Hoosier, and it's just a great company. Family owned, and they're headquartered down in Indianapolis. Beautiful office downtown, right down by the circle there.
Cool area, cool town too. Love it.
Yeah, great leadership, good guy, and they had a Fort Wayne office that they were looking to start up, and they didn't have any connections. They didn't know anybody. They didn't have anything going. And I, at that point in time, was I was wearing a lot of hats. I was spread pretty thin. I was looking to kind of narrow what I've done and develop down into a singular lane or a singular mission. And so it's just good timing, and came in and started January 1st. And we're up to 6 people now. Already we have 2 more and an intern coming in, and we're already looking. We got to get a new office here, upgrade a little bit, and keep going. So it's been a great journey. Having the podcast, we'll be coming out with a new one here soon, but with the transition and things like that, kind of refocus and get myself, the market's pretty busy. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And man, I feel like I'm learning a whole new TJ today. So sports medicine and physical therapy. How do I not know that? How did that never come out in our conversations? Or am I not listening? Maybe that's
because you don't listen to me when I talk, Trey. No, you don't. And it's affected me for a while, and I'm glad you brought that up. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's deal with it right now.
I think it's because I'm a logistics nerd, and that's what I talk about. And that's what gets brought up, and that's what people think of when they think of me. So, but what made me good at that was even the director of the program down there told me, as a athletic trainer, physical therapist, whatever it was, my value, my skill set was the street smarts, being able to communicate with people and talk and figure out things and figure out problems and solve issues and think during times of urgency. There was people that could sit down and outread me or whatever it was. I wasn't dumb, but that's where my value came. If you're running onto the field and the guy's down and his knees hurt, you got to be the one that's calm. You got to control the situation. You got to evaluate, figure out what's going on, make the right choice, and make the right decision to push forward. And so I found that translated big time into this industry, and that's always been kind of my strength.
Nice. Well, it leads to the hashtag that you have become famous for, which is Handle It. Which when did that start? When you felt like this is something that not only is important to me as an individual, but this could be inspirational or encouraging to other people, and you really started to go after that on LinkedIn and started to share that message. How'd that start?
Well, I'll tell you, it started back in 2020 when COVID hit, and I was on Mad Gains with Cassandra. They're starting off those rate debates, and I started hearing people whine. So I kind of started that whole thing. And I think that's what kind of got me a little more out there was, coming up through it and, the bad times, the good times. I just had, I had a mentality. It was always ingrained in me to just, you just got to get it done. There's always a way to find out how to get it done. And it's just whether or not you want to put the effort and the time into doing it. And so during that time, that was a big thing for people. And so I kind of adapted that. At that time, I was, developing out, large account management team, carousels teams, all that stuff over the headquarters. And it kind of became a thing, and for me, build a culture, get people involved, get them excited about freight. They love the Handle It thing, but it also helped me, be able to train. One of the hardest parts, I think, in logistics is getting proper training. You hear it all the time because there's so much that's going on. There's so much that's needs done. And, a lot of people that are doing the training are actually, actual employees, part of a job, or have other job responsibilities. And so it kind of gets pushed off the side. So that live training is so important. So I started using that. So, people come up and you also find in this industry that there's a lot of people that can do something, but they know that somebody else will do it for them, or that, they could figure it out for them. So they'd come up to me and with an issue. And I, at that point, and I still look back, it hurts my head, but had been through pretty much everything, and a lot of issues. And so I could vet it in my head. If it wasn't all that bad, I knew they could handle it. I'd just say, well, you go handle it. And they kind of look at me and said, now, but when you're done, I want you to come back and tell me what you did. Okay. Oh, all right. Yep. You got it. You got it. All right. So 9 times out of 10, they came back just fired up. So I sent this email. I did this. I knew if I did this and and I'm like, see, there you go. I said, and a lot of times I'd walk them through the situation, and if it was too bad, I would do it and have them right there with me and show them how to handle it, and it just became a thing. I had a hashtag handle it trophy for different KPIs and stuff, and then it became where our HR guy actually had a trophy shop make the hashtag handle it hammer award. And it was always based around, it wasn't who had the top numbers, who had the top anything. It was who was working hard and improving. So it was all based on, who brought, innovative approaches, who bought in, and who showed up early or stayed late when they had to, if needed to get the job done. And that was, that got a lot more people included, because I think what you find is somebody comes in just the right time and gets that big account. And then you got somebody in there grinding, they don't feel as involved. They aren't maybe making as much money, and they know they're better than that person, really. And I try to get the spotlight on those people to keep them grinding and keep them growing.
Yeah, and 2 things I want to point out that you said, and that is, a lot of times companies just hope that training happens. They hope that, just by having the people around others who are doing the job, they're going to figure it out instead of being intentional about it and having a plan. I think that's a huge misstep that we find, not only in this industry, but just in general in leadership, of not taking training seriously. But then the second thing that you said that I thought was really great was you want to put people in situations that stretch them a little bit, especially if you believe that they are ready and they know how to handle it, but also having that, that comeback. Like come back and let's talk about it. Let's look at what you did and make sure it's correct. And that's a part of building a culture of people who feel competent, who feel confident in what they're able to do. And that's a part of that handle it culture. I would assume that's got to be a huge part of your strategy.
Yeah, it's a phrase that could be taken wrong. I mean, really. So having them come back and make it a thing. We had. They would make signs. We had, T-shirts made.
I'm still waiting, by the way, for my T-shirt. I'm waiting. I don't know if I got lost in the mail or what, but
I shipped it LTL. So that was a year and a half ago. So get with Curtis Garrett. It should be almost there.
We're gonna have to put a claim on that.
And like a warehouse in Chicago. But yeah, so made it fun, made a trophy out of it, and then just kept it going. I mean, I was putting it on posts and whatnot, and I think a lot of what people liked about what I was bringing was that kind of bluntness, because I've got a good way of wording things in which I'm not abrasive or confrontational, but there's a lot of things that just need said, and you got to be careful about what you say. You got to make sure you are most likely in the majority, or that if anybody were to come back with anything, that you could back it up right there. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that liked what was going on. It was weird. It was, people started just sending me the handle it stuff. And I didn't do social media hardly at all up to that point. It was weird. I'm getting messages, man, I really like your content and stuff. And the weird part for me was like, it was basic stuff. It wasn't anything, and I think that's the big thing in this industry. I wasn't going too in depth with anything. It was just, I think a lot of people tend to overlook the fundamentals. There's a lot of loopholes that could be taken. There's a lot of ways of doing things that aren't right. And a lot of stuff I was putting out was basic stuff that you either should have learned or did learn at the beginning, and maybe you weren't doing, or other people don't do. And so I think that gets a lot of backing, I think, because there's a lot of people out there doing it right. And when they see somebody promoting that, I think you take yourself out of maybe a culture where you're in an office where they're promoting doing it this way, or do it this way, or get sneaky or whatever. And so I think people rally behind that. you know, I wasn't going to keep going with it, but you know, as soon as I would slow down, people would start messaging, "Hey man, I saw you're not doing as much on here," you know, and so I just kept it up, and the podcast started, and we went from there. But it's been fun. I mean, I was down in Orlando last week at a conference, and you know, there was shippers there was tech people, there was other brokers, and you know, we're at the bar that Monday night after the meet and greet, and like 3 people come up to me, and we were all talking like a kind of a group, and they're like, "This teacher, oh, I know him from LinkedIn. Oh, I love his stuff. Have you seen this?" I'm like, "What?" And like, so you don't even know that. And I've talked to people that have said, "Hey, man, I really feel like I've got a lot of good stuff to say. I feel like I you know, I want to help people and stuff like that, you know, but how do I get that, you know, the visibility, the, you know, the prominence of that, people seeing your stuff and start following your stuff, that's with time.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's all you're focused on too, I think you get a little frustrated. Just keep sharing your stuff. Know the algorithm on LinkedIn. I think that helps a lot. Know people, you know, tag people that are active, right? I know if I tag Trey in something that probably interests him, he's probably going to comment on it, right? He's probably going to like it. But it takes time and stuff. And so, what you don't realize sometimes is that there's a lot of people looking at your stuff that may not hit like, that may not, you know, even comment. And so it kind of opened my eyes just this last week where, you know, it's been 2 years or so, but I didn't realize that, you know, people knew who I was from that standpoint. I don't go on with fluff, you know, it's just all straight to the point. And I think that's what, you know, people like.
Yeah, and I think, you know, your voice definitely needs to be heard. We need more content from you, but we need more content from other people as well. And I think, you know, people just have to be confident with hitting record and putting it out there. And if they're doing something that works in their organization, like you were doing with the, you know, the handle it and helping people in tough situations, if that's working, then it's going to be beneficial for the people. And it just requires you to hit record and put it out there, which is it's still critical to do that and stay consistent. By the way, Nick's also looking for his t-shirt as well. So I'm not sure what happened with the shipping over to Scotland, but
his is on a boat. It's docked. It's anchored outside Scotland. It has been for the last 6 months.
It's being delayed just slightly. Corey Albers, what's up, man? Thanks for joining us this morning. Good to see you on the show. Corey, by the way, that dude can handle it. And you should see that guy's transformation. Absolutely unbelievable. Corey, we got to get you on the show, man. But thanks for watching. Glad to have you on the show. You know, we weren't really going to talk too much about marketing, but that's a really interesting point that you just talk about. And that is, you know, if somebody wants to have visibility or wants to start building an audience, wants to start, you know, putting their content out there, it really is just about consistency. I mean, Chris Jolly would tell us that the first thing, just got to be consistent with what you're doing, consistent with your message, make sure it's good content. It's things that are working, that are actually going to be helpful for other people. The thing that I think about is if I learn something, like if I read a book or if I watch, you know, a clip, or, you know, if I hear something from you or whoever, if I feel like if I learn something, that it could be beneficial for somebody else. And so a lot of times I'll just take things I'm learning and I'll put it out there to help other people out. And, you know, it doesn't have to be necessarily your original thought. Certainly you want to cite maybe who you hear things from, but just getting it out there and starting to share things that you've learned that have helped you personally or helped you in business. It's just a great way to get started and start building a platform. And I think that's kind of what you did, was you just started putting out there what worked for you, you know, and that was meaningful.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I had somebody actually message me last night, you know who he is, but he was saying, he's like, "Hey, do you think what do you think about my content? And, you know, how do I, you know, I really want to help people. How do I get it out there?" And I said, the main thing is really, I think, you know, if you're looking for visibility for just visibility, I think you're going to kind of spin your wheels a little bit, because what you're doing is you're searching for what people want to hear, what they want, instead of just focusing on what you know, picking one thing and what is it that you want to say, or what is it that you want to be known for, or that you want to be continue to drive home. It doesn't have to be super specific, but it's got to kind of stay in one category, because number one, you bring a passion with it every time. And so it's not just, you know, fluff or something you pulled from somewhere else, because I'll tell you what, if you're gonna put some stuff out there, you got to be able to defend it. I'm just saying, people will come in, and you'll see some of my comments when people come in with stuff, and I kill people with logic. And that's what it is. It's all logic.
Not kindness, just logic.
Well, kindness and logic. You know what I mean? Because I'm confident in what I put out there. But I'm also very understandable in saying, hey, listen, I understand the scope of this industry, and that there's different mindsets, but here's what I'm pushing at. And the conversations that are inside, that are within the 50, 60, 70 comments on some of these posts, are excellent. You could tell people in this industry that you'll get a little edgy with an opinion, but the conversations tend to stay pretty educational and just open-minded, because I think that's the best approach to take, because those conversations help people. People get in there, a new broker gets in, starts reading all those, and they start learning. They start learning that stuff. I learn. I mean, it's constant. And I have no problem if I'm corrected and I'm wrong, saying that, giving them props, because I feel better. I feel like I did something. But the other thing is when you're focused on one thing, not only do you build clout in that area, but you're always kind of on the lookout for it. So most of my posts that are really good are something that happened to me that day, something I ran into, and it's just been on my mind, right? All day. And, I know for a fact that, it's gonna help somebody, or that it's very interesting. And I also told that person last night, I said, make sure you post it that day. Because that's when you've got that inspiration, and you've got that passion into it. If you wait a couple of days, some of those words that were in your head are going to be gone, and you're going to be kind of lost. And then it's cyclical. A lot of the stuff I put out, once you get rolling, and after a year or so, if I don't have anything to put out, I'll go back through and find a post that was popular a year ago, because technically I have more followers, and copy and paste it, and maybe add a little bit to it or something like that. But you already know that people liked it the first time. It was obviously good content. You've got more followers now, and then now you've got something to feed off of when you kind of run low on what you feel like you want to put out.
Yeah, it's great advice to do that, as well as, like, there are a lot of times where I'd be traveling to a conference or somewhere, and I'm in the airport, and something just comes to mind that just was really helpful or meaningful. I think it would be meaningful to the people, and I've done selfie videos, and some of those hit harder than things I think through or try to put out. So I think you're right. Just be authentic about what you're doing, and that's really important. Speaking of being authentic, we can't talk to each other on this without talking about dad jokes, dude. When did you get into like dad jokes? And I got to say, like, even on like the message for today's show, there were dad jokes about that as well. Tell us about your dad joke background and why why that's hit so hard. The first time I heard you give dad jokes, I'm pretty sure it was when we went hunting, not together, but separately, but we were doing some back and forth on LinkedIn, and the dad jokes were just piling up. Talk a little about that. And then I want you to transition that into using humor in sales and how that impacts effective sales.
Yeah. I was dropping bombs that hunting season, and it was I had time to sit
literal
in the stand.
and
There was a little bit of a challenge out there, and as I'm sitting in my stand, I'm just thinking of things. And so, what was it? Mike Neeme was talking about how bow hunting's better than gun hunting, and I told him, I said, that's I'll go ahead and get a trophy buck put on the wall with some antlers. I said, because you're obviously, I already know your background in shipping, so you're obviously hunting for less than buckload. Plus I'm going to use my muzzleloader. It's a lot louder. I'd like a little more bang for my buck. You throw those things out there, and you think of those things, and you're like, oh man, I got a couple here to add up. And I think it also made it a little bit better that I would take those videos from my stand, in which I was kind of whispering and trying to be serious. It was a lot easier to be serious and not like smile. So no, I just always had.
Okay, quick question. Do you have a book that you use, or are these all originals that you just come up with them?
Here's the deal, Trey. I'm very witty. I can think on the fly, but my attention span really is not necessarily there. I wrote a couple of articles. If you find those articles on those took like 2 years. That's like a page article. It took like 2 years to write. So getting me to sit down and write them is going to be the toughest part. But maybe when I retire, I'll do it. But you're witty. I throw things out, and you only hear about the 2 out of 10 that stick, right? I throw a lot of stuff at the wall, or people call me an idiot.
My kids actually bought me a dad joke book for Christmas this year, so apparently they don't think my dad jokes, the ones I come up with, are any good. So
I also grew up with and have a lot of friends that are witty, so a lot of stuff I steal from them too, and vice versa. So I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I just come up with it, and it sometimes I don't even know how I do.
It's impressive, that's for sure. Okay, so we got a couple minutes left here to talk a little bit about how humor can enhance the sales process, and how you like to use humor a little bit when you're selling.
My biggest thing is that for me, I think it just makes you real. I think right now, and just I guess my approach in sales, especially in logistics, is I know at least, and you got to adapt a little bit. I think there's times for humor, and I think there's not. And I think you got to know that. And I think you got to get a read on the person first on whether or not they're even going to react well to it. So, but I will tell you, there's a lot of people that when somebody tells you what you want to hear, when they're telling you what you want to hear, or a script or something like that you hear from everybody else, is there ever any really humor in that? Which not, is it? It's pretty straightforward and basic. And so I think when you bring that in, I think it kind of, sets you apart a little bit. You're always looking to be kind of set yourself apart. It's not just in how good you are, but sometimes, you make somebody laugh or if it relates, but it's got to be good timing. You can't just throw it out for no reason. And you got to have a kind of a feel for the person, but I think it breaks the ice a little bit. I don't lead in with it, I wouldn't say. But I will tell you that it is one thing that, kind of builds, I hate to say it, but it builds trust as much as some of the other things that are just as important. So, I don't know. I think I think humor is something that if you even look at people that are the best stand-up comics, it's all about timing. The timing of a joke, whether you're telling a longer joke or a shorter joke, that's why they call it a punchline, right? But if you can time your humor within a situation or whatever it is, there's a lot of people that are stressed out that are, don't hear any of it all day because they're just getting hammered by the shipping department. You throw something in like that, they want to talk to you again. They don't look at when your name shows up on the phone, they're not going, TJ again. He's boring. He's probably telling me something bad news.
Subconsciously, that is what they're thinking. You're right about that. And I heard this one time.
I want to see what this guy has to say.
Yeah,
I liked it, mentally in their head, they're just kind of saying, I liked the last time I talked to this person. So
that's right.
I think it brings that element, but I think it's all about timing.
Yeah. And I heard this one time too, that, sales is really about education. You're learning about a problem and you're educating a prospect on a solution that's going to solve that problem. There's a lot of education that goes into it. And I heard this one time, it made sense to me. The best educators are the best entertainers, meaning the people who can get a point across are the people who can capture an audience's attention. And sometimes that's through humor. Sometimes that's through maybe just having great knowledge, like somebody who's really smart, but not like obnoxious about how smart they are or arrogant. They're fun to listen to because they know a lot, right? So if you can entertain people in one way or another, whether it's humor or content knowledge, whatever it is, you win the opportunity to educate them. And that's really what sales is all about. So if you can use humor in a way that's really natural and organic, I say do it. Get people laughing, get them to like you. At the end of the day, people want to do business with people they like. Yep. And so if you can get them to like you, that's through humor, if that's who you are, then use it. Don't shy away from that if that's really who you are. So the class clowns out there, go for it.
But remember, that's just it's a tool in your tool belt, but it's not, you can't just be funny and not be able to bring value and bring education and have an educated conversation with people, especially in freight sales. I'm sorry, you look at on a brokerage or the carrier side, there's no degrees for that. There's no anything like that. A lot of these people on the supply chain management side may have degrees, may have that, but you got to be able to adapt. I've got a blue collar background too. I can talk to a shipping, guy down on the docks. I can talk to a VP of supply chain. You got to be able to have those conversations and just add that as something extra that you can bring out when you need to, because you got to be able to adapt.
Yeah, and truly know your audience, right? Like you said, try to figure out who your audience is. That's going to make a big impact. For somebody who maybe you're not feeling it, they don't really want to laugh, or they're hard to. Maybe humor is not the way to go there. But bring your audience is
bring energy. That's what's gotten me where it is, and it's a energy I don't necessarily try to have. I just always have had, and it's what used to get me in trouble in school or whatever it was. But that people feed off that.
Energy,
I
passion,
found a lot
enthusiasm.
of luck. I found a lot of luck. It's kind of weird. I'm really good with people that are kind of awkward. I'm really good with awkward people. They like me. It's weird. It's so. And you find
you're one of them.
You find some of these big dogs at some of these big companies. They're a little bit introverts. They're very, very, very smart. But they feed off it. They start texting you and calling you and stuff. Because I think you bring a dynamic that they may not necessarily have. But you always make sure you value what they're bringing as well. And I think that's a great way to do it.
Man, I can't believe 30 minutes is up. Good night. This went fast. Going to have you back on the show sometime, but thank you for joining, man. It's great to catch up. Great to chat. Thanks for sharing your story about Handle It and a little bit of your dad jokes. Always appreciate that. And for those that are watching, make sure you come back tomorrow. I'm excited for my friend Brent Orsuga to be on the show. He's going to bring it. He's going to light it up. And so it's going to be a great time tomorrow to have him on the show. And for the rest of you, we'll see you guys tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Central for Standing Out, daily podcast about sales, marketing, and leadership. TJ, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys.